going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe
and Amy
Review, and this is our usually twice weekly Don't Worry About It show, where we review the Magic stories. We had a bit of a week. Come watch us on stream. We'll talk about that in a second to find out more, but regardless, today we are here to continue our reviews of the Dominaria United stories with the main story, Episode 3, The Locked Tower, by Langley Hyde. My quick review at the top of this one is, I liked this story. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought, it definitely gave you a fair bit of information, I suppose, for the story itself, but I had some major problems with it, and I will talk about that, but I still think it was an entertaining read, so I still think it's arguably worth your time.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with it, so I'm gonna find out, same as you, what he's talking about.
Yeah, I kept it a little close to the chest because I want to hear people's opinions on it. Yeah. As always, we want to hear your opinions down in the comments below. That's what they're for. Keep the conversation going. But before we go on to the full review itself, hi, welcome to the channel. I somewhat alluded to it earlier that we stream. We stream on this channel every Monday and Friday from at 8 p.m. Eastern. Mondays, if you're a fan of Magic the Gathering, we play MTG Arena, and Friday, the day that this video is coming out, but most Fridays, we will be streaming whatever video game we happen to be playing at the time. Right now, we are working towards the end of our first ever Nuzlocke of Pokemon Fire Red. We will probably have tonight's stream, and then not next week, because that's pre-release for this set, but the week after will likely be our finale of that Nuzlocke, kind of one way or the other. So fingers crossed, hopefully it actually works out for us. But and then again, we will keep going with streams in Fridays for weeks to come, so definitely stay tuned for that. Yes. And of course, if you're enjoying any of the things that we're doing here on this channel or on our other channels, links down in the description box below, that will take you to then we would love it if you would subscribe and ring that bell so that you will get notifications whenever any of our videos come out or whenever we go live here on this channel. It helps us out a lot, and we really do appreciate it. So please feel free to do those things. I forgot to mention before we started that little plug, so I apologize, I guess I was very eager to get to the plug, that if you have not gotten a chance to read this story yet and you are interested in doing so, the top link in the description down below after our quick reviews, if that enticed you to go read it, the top link in the description down below will take you to that story so that you can read it for yourself, and we highly encourage you to do so. And then, of course, if you do, we would love it if you would then come back here and join us so that we can continue, as I said, the discussion, the conversation, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, as I said, on to the full review itself. At the start of the story, I kind of chuckled to myself because I was like, oh wow, they're really splitting the party right at the beginning, huh? Like it was like, two people go this way, two people stay here, and one person goes downstairs alone.
Never split the party.
In the dark basement. And not only never split the party, I mean, you have people who are centuries old in this group, right, and all of them are just like, yeah, sure, let's split up, no big deal. Now, you could argue that while Joda is not and Sten is not, they, meaning Teferi and Jaya and Karn, are planeswalkers, and many pre-mending planeswalkers, that maybe they have kind of an inflated sense of self, where they're like, oh, it doesn't matter if I go alone, nothing can stop me.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I can do anything.
Right. Despite, for Karn, obviously he's right? The Phyrexians can't really influence him. They can still mess him up, we've seen that, but I don't know, it seemed dumb to me that it was right at the beginning of the story, let's split up into 3 groups. And you're worried about sleeper agents.
Right. That's, to me, the dumbest part, is that they decided to split up when sleeper agents are a thing.
Mm-hmm. Or could become a thing.
Yeah. They know sleeper agents are a thing, and they're trying to figure out, during the course of this story, if any of them are one.
Yep.
And so the first thing they decide to do is split up.
Yep.
That's a little silly.
Well,
I will agree with that.
Right. But we kind of come to find out why at least Karn is okay with splitting up. And that's because one by one, he is lying to his friends,
right,
and Sten, about the location of the Silex. Because it seems like they all want to know, And the ones that are not sleeper agents want to know because they want to help.
Right.
But the one who is the sleeper agent wants to know because they want to tell Shieldred.
Well, yeah.
Shieldred. I was like, why can't I remember her name?
They want to Elishnorn.
No. Close. They want to tell Shieldred so that Shieldred can go find the Silex and either destroy it or use it for her own means, whatever the case may be. And so, for that reason, Karn is super happy to, like, split up. Now, interestingly, right, they set the teams at the beginning, and then partway through, they split up differently again, and Karn is not the one who suggests splitting up differently from before. And so it works out that Karn is with a different person, JaAR this time, whom he can tell the location, the fake location of it to. Or actually, Joda, I guess, was the second one he told. Then JaAR was the third, then Sten was the fourth and final, because Teferi was first, if you didn't get that from the process of elimination. It was just, like, it was just heaped with convenience.
Of course.
Like, okay, whatever, you're with Teferi first. That's not convenience, you're going to be with one other person, fine, it's Teferi, no big deal.
Okay.
Then it's Joda. Okay, it's a different person, somebody else suggested that you split up into different groups, which kind of makes no sense, but we'll go with it, right? That's fine, it's not too much of a coincidence. There were four other people, you got picked with one of those other four, fine. Then you're with JaAR. Okay, that's a little weirder that now you're with a third different person alone so that you can tell them this information. And then finally, he ends up with Sten. And when he's with Sten, he's near everybody else, but you need to get him to tell Sten, so quietly under his breath, where nobody else can hear, even though they're basically in the same room, he whispers to Sten, hey, it's over here. And Sten goes, oh, cool, and then pulls an Edgar from Men in Black or a Vincent D'Onofrio from Men in Black and just kind of peels himself apart and is a Phyrexian. Spoilers, I guess. If you didn't know that we were going to do that, spoilers.
It was a little bit comical almost.
Yeah, a lot comical. And a lot, I mean, so dumb. Like, the decisions that were made were stupid. And I don't mean the writing decisions, I mean the decisions that the characters made were stupid. Like, why would they do these things? Well, because, right? Like, that's the only answer. Why did they split up into different groups randomly all the time? Why is it that whatever group Karn was in ended up running to the person that was screaming every time? And then each group randomly shows up one by one. It was like watching the movie Clue.
Yeah.
Truly, it was like watching the movie Clue. Which, if that was their goal, okay, but
Except it wasn't as good.
Definitely not as good. Clue is incredible.
Yes, it is.
But not only that, it was like
one of my favorites.
It was like a C-list mystery where you're like, oh, well, those people were upstairs, so maybe it could be one of those two, or maybe one of them was and infected the other, because now they're coming back and like, well, Sten was downstairs by himself, so maybe he was infected then. No, he's been infected the whole time. Okay, so let's look back to like.
Right. It was the maid, and then they all run down to the kitchen.
It's the same shit, I'm telling you.
It was the cook, and then they run down to the kitchen, and then, they find another body,
Yeah. Yeah. Or, again, Joda and Teferi, centuries-old mages. Centuries old. Both of them, during this time, have magic dysfunction. Both of them, at separate points in the story. Because they're tired or hurt, but only when it's the most inconvenient for them to be. Well, is when their magic is not available to them.
Joe, when you're that old, start to get a little bit of dysfunction.
Got to get some magical Viagra, I guess, for your spells. You got to keep your hands erect, right? It was like, come on, like, is this like a 5-year-old's television show where it's like, uh-oh, it doesn't work! And you're like trying to build tension of like, my magic! Like, it was like...
Yes, it was very tropey. Yeah. I'll give you that.
But bad tropey, like bad.
I didn't feel like it was that bad. Like, everything that happened, I was like, of course. Of course. Of course. Because like you said, everything was very convenient or very inconvenient, right?
Which is just, hey, by the way, we only have 5 stories, so move it the hell along, could you? Because, by the way, if it's news to you that people these days are saying, wow, we really should have more of these stories or more time with these characters. We've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
A long time. Welcome to the party. Okay, let's talk about... but I will say, overarchingly, I think that what Karn did was actually super clever. To, like, get each of them alone somehow. And again, the yada-yada-ing of it was sad and pathetic. Truly it was. Because it was just like, just make it up. Just say, like, he found time to be alone with each of them and gave them, you know what I mean? Like, but the explanation for it was bad. It was just like, well, now he's with this person alone. Wait, why? Well, because, JaAR suggested it. Why would JaAR suggest it? Well, because we need them to be alone together.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's why. Got it. Okay. That makes sense then. Thank you for clearing that up for me. Fuck me. It was so like, frustrating.
Yeah.
And then the last one, it's like, how are we going to get him alone with Sten? Well, they're out of earshot, so he just whispers it. Sure, whatever. Let's just get to the Phyrexian reveal and move on with our lives. Okay. When he reveals or like confides in Teferi, one thing that I wanted to say is Teferi takes a moment and says to Karn something to the effect of like, Urza was terrible to you. And I should have noticed it, I should have been more observant, and I should have treated you better as well. Teferi had more character development in this story than in sets that he actually had Planeswalker cards in, like Innistrad.
Yeah.
Midnight Hunter or Crimson Vow. I think it was Midnight Hunt.
Yeah. And
everything that Teferi did in that set was off camera or the one side story with Ren and Seven.
Right. Which, that story was really cool.
Yes.
And great.
Yep.
But like you said, there was no character development. That was character development, but it was so chopped off at the beginning and at the end that there was no, okay, here's how he gets there, or, okay, here's what happens next. It was just, they randomly placed it in there, like, oh, you wanted character development for Teferi?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And there was no reason for it, really.
Yep. And then, while Karn is trying to determine whether these people who are his close friends can be trusted, right? And they are rightfully offended, but some of them understand, right? JaAR seems to be the one who seems to understand the most, or maybe Teferi as well. I think he gets it, right? He didn't really speak up against it, whereas JaAR was like, but why don't you just tell us? And Joda was like really upset, right? While he's doing that, he's also flat out saying, I mean, in his mind, but like thinking, I guess then, that he misses a Johnny.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, yes, it's a way for you to remind us, like, hey, by the way, a Johnny's also in this story. Let's not forget. He'll be back in episode 4 or 5, or both.
Right.
So let's not forget that he exists, but he's not in this story, but we need to remind you. So Karn misses him. Why does Karn miss him? Because in story 1, or story 2, whichever, when we saw a Johnny, I guess it was story 2, Karn mentions, oh, there's a Johnny. I've met him a couple of times.
It's really stupid.
So why does he miss him? I don't get it. You're with your close friends who you're trying to determine if you trust them or not, and then you're like, I miss a Johnny. No, you don't. You miss the author being able to remind us that the character exists. Like,
Yeah, I think when you said that, it didn't occur to me that it was Karn.
Yeah.
I don't know who I thought it was, but I think I just assumed it wasn't Karn.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of silly.
Yeah. Okay. 2 last things, I guess, to talk about with this one. Our video for episode 2, which was titled "Sten Sucks,"
Yeah.
is the highest viewed video of this series so far. And I don't mean JaAR in general. I mean for the Dominaria United story reviews. And some people didn't like it. There were some dislikes on that. That's fine. People are entitled to their opinions. As always, if you dislike something that we're doing, let us know why, so that we can change things up, as opposed to just, I didn't like it, never looking at this channel again. I mean, again,
Right.
you have that right. Please don't misunderstand. But for our benefit and for our viewers' benefits, if there's something that we're doing that you don't enjoy, you're always welcome to let us know. That's really neither here nor there.
Well, let us know and explain it,
And that's what I'm saying, yes.
Because it's a conversation, right? Like, we're here saying how we feel about something, but we want to know how you feel about it too. And it really doesn't matter, if it's a different opinion than ours. It's not like we're not going to like you then because you said something, contrary to what we said.
We want that.
The point is that, like, maybe we missed something, right? Maybe we read the story and we were like, this was stupid because these things happened. And you're like, yeah, but you forgot this one thing that validated all of that stuff that you had a problem with.
Yep.
So, like, it actually really helps us, and also anyone else who's reading the comments, to hear another point of view. I mean, it always helps to hear another point of view in kind of any situation, right?
Yeah. So, in that video, I ended that video by being like, why are all of these people just listening to rando dude Sten? We've never met him before. Now, I felt like this was the author's insert character, because Sten was like background information, the guy. Like, he was just like, oh, well, I've been looking for Phyrexian sleeper agents, and this is how I find them, and this is how I know. It's like, again, I said then, who are you again? Like, I don't understand what your purpose is here. And again, I thought that it was the author being able to write their own character as opposed to characterizing people that have been written previously by others, or created and written by others. And that it's harder for authors to do that. And I don't blame that at all, because the story team should be helping them out with giving them things to read, but there's a lot, especially on these Dominarian characters and Planeswalkers, there's a lot of backstory to read to be able to understand. And if they don't have that information beforehand, and I actually don't know if Langley, the author for this story, was a fan of old Dominarian stories. Maybe they were. I truly don't know and don't recall. If that is something that's been announced, you're more than welcome to let me know in the comments down below. As always, corrections are appreciated. But if not, that is a lot of information to have read up on or to have not gotten a chance to read up on. And again, I don't blame any single author, contract author, who's coming in to do this job for not being able to read all of that backstory. And then even if they do read all of that backstory, it's still, I wouldn't fault anybody who, I don't want to say isn't talented enough, because that feels rude, but doesn't necessarily have the skill enough, and again, I mean that with all the respect in the world, to take characters that other people have written, key in on their characterization, and still perfectly be able to, like, just continue their story,
Right.
while people who find these characters to be their favorite are like to have that just be seamless. Like, that's tough.
Right.
So I don't fault anybody for not being able to do that.
Because that's, like, arguably not really a skill so much as it is preparation, right?
Yeah.
It's, okay, did the people who work for this company who are now employing me provide me with enough information and time to adequately characterize these characters?
Yep.
And, unfortunately, that answer is typically no.
Right. And so, again, a lot of ex machina type things of like, we need this person to be over here. Okay, they're over there. How did you get them there? Who cares? Okay, I guess. I mean, people definitely care, right? It matters when one person was over here and now they're over there, and there's no reason for them to be over here, but now something really important happens when they're over here. Right. It's like, okay, so you needed them to be from point A to point B, but you didn't care how you got there, or you weren't willing to take the time to, like, make it believable because you don't have the time because you only have 5 stories to do it in. I get it. But Sten just shows up and tells these centuries-old individuals, like, hey, by the way, let's go this way. And all of them are like, okay, rando guy, let's do it.
Yeah, it was very awkward.
Why? Why would any of them do that? They know all of Dominaria. They've traveled all over it. Why are they just like, well, let's go to the tower? hey, what a surprise, that dude was a Phyrexian and trapped you there. Why would you do... it, like, boggled my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, you people are supposed to be smart. And one dude who you've never met before is like, hi, all of you very important people. Let's all go to this one place together. Oh, there's a Phyrexian in here. Let's lock ourselves in. Okay, sure, that makes sense. Yep. So it went from, like, you know, again, it got to be that mystery, right? That crappy mystery. It's not Clue. It's not.
No.
It's worse than Clue.
Yeah.
A lot worse.
It's trying to be Clue, which I would recommend normally. And then not only is it trying to be Clue, but it's then, you know, on top of that being bad for a magic story, it's then also not up to par to be Clue.
But again, thank God, Jodah, Teferi, Jaya, and Karn all became goddamn idiots before this story so that we could get this story. Thank God they all became idiots. What else is there? Like, I don't understand.
Before the first story.
Well,
Yeah.
Sure.
Before the set of stories, I guess, yeah.
Just like, all of them just lost all sense of common sense. They're just like, oh, whatever, we'll just do all these different things. Oh, we're facing like a multiversal threat that could kill any of us at any moment, and any of us could be one of them as well? Well, I can't trust any of you, but let's trust this dude who we've never met before to just take us to this tower and lock us in. Why? Oh, and let's exhaust our mage in the meantime, but it's fine, because he'll still be able to do plenty of magic until he can't, which is the moment when he's being attacked and almost killed. And then Jaya has her magic until she doesn't. And then Teferi has his magic until he doesn't.
Right.
It's like, okay, sure. And then last but not least, the overarching thing that I wanted to talk about is, right, we are filming this later, we had a little bit of issues, and not that, like, this video would have just come out on Monday. So, not necessarily, and then we would have had a different video that came out yesterday. We were a little busy. We had a video earlier on in the week, but like I said, if you want to come to the stream and ask us about it, we're more than happy to regale you with the story. This is not the proper forum for that, because months from now, if people are watching this, it will mean nothing to you.
Right.
So I'm going to move on. The story is fully out at the time that we're reviewing this. All of them are out. And the cards have been previewed. Now, for years, I said, and we said, that it would be really awesome, and they, to a degree, did this with New Capenna, which was nice. It would be really cool if your stories could preview some of your cards for you.
Right.
That'd be cool. Mm-hmm. It previews the art really well, because it comes out before a lot of these cards are previewed, which means the art doesn't have context and or isn't shown prior to that story being released. So now when the story comes out, you're like, wow, look at this piece of art, like that's gonna be really sick. You know, I can't wait to see what kind of card it's on. Or speculation, right? Putting online, wow, this card, maybe it's for a new one of these, or a reprint of this, or something like that, right? Really cool regardless. But you are writing these stories as a mystery. A crappy mystery, but a mystery. The day that episode 5 came out, you had a thing that every Magic player is supposed to watch. Anybody who wants to know about Magic now and for the year to come just revealed the reveal from episode 5 during the live stream for whatever the hell they call their tell you everything that's going on live stream. I don't remember, nor do I care. It doesn't matter. So if you didn't get a chance to read 10 stories in 8 days...
Which, who does have that?
If you didn't get a chance to read all 10 of them, well, guess what? But you wanted to watch that preview stream because you want to know what cards are coming out. Maybe you need to, so that you know what kind of decks you want to make, what cards you want to start investing in, etc. Well, guess what? You found out who the sleeper agent is, and I'm not going to tell you here in case you have been kept away from it. But this story sucks when you know who the sleeper agent is. It sucks. Because it's not a mystery. Like, sure, it's Sten at the end of this one. Okay, sure. But all of that lead up of like, oh, but could it be Teferi? But could it be Jaya? But could it be this person? But could it be this person? But could it be this person? I guess it could, if you don't know the story that you rushed through because you can't not, apparently.
Right.
I just don't, like, mysteries that are actually mysterious, that are actually giving you clues, like this one was trying to do, of like, okay, Teferi was up there alone and he yelled. Could he be a sleeper agent? You know, Jaya had that cut on her arm. And she was gone for a while, and Karn's like, but Phyrexian oil wouldn't get in that short period of time. At least I don't think so, right? Like, it's putting that doubt into your mind about each and every one of them. But if you've already been spoiled for the ending, it's not interesting, because you would know that it is Teferi or Jaya or Jodah already. So none of this is relevant, because the ending has already been spoiled for you. So it's like, the Sten reveal was interesting to me, but then also it was, of course it's Sten. He's the one who doesn't matter.
Right. And the one who doesn't belong, because he's just out of nowhere. And so you should assume that someone who is out of nowhere in a kind of situation where there may be sleeper agents might be untrustworthy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I questioned this a lot. Like, there were a lot of things about this story that made no sense. And it felt like a C-list mystery movie.
Fair enough.
Again, I found it interesting, because I said I still liked it and I thought it was entertaining.
Right.
But I think bad movies are entertaining, depending on the movie. They're still bad movies. Like, I'm still fully able to acknowledge that they're bad movies, but they're entertaining. Like, The Room has a massive following. Just saying. Like, that's a huge cult classic, and it's not great. So, and I don't think this is that by any means, but, I feel like they were going for something that fully missed the mark.
Okay.
This particular story. Like,
I feel like I don't know that they did miss the mark. I think that was the mark that they were trying to go for.
And that's my point, right? That's my point.
Yeah.
Is that, like, you should strive for a little bit more. But with 5 stories, you might not be able to.
Right.
This may have been the best that they had with the limitations that they were given.
Right. And I think that part of the reason why I liked this story is, again, it was entertaining, and it was short, and it had movement.
Yeah.
In a way that the first story did not. I hated that story.
Okay. With Karn, like, walking around and
it
getting...
It was so boring. And this story was not.
It had actual action, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, it was super tropey, but going in, my standards were low, because I was like, it's the second story after the one that we read first. So I was like, well, it's gonna be these characters who are great characters, but the story's not gonna reflect that. Yeah. And I already knew that going in, because we read the first one. And this one was lighter, funner? Is that a word? More fun, and faster, shorter.
Well, and again, that's because they didn't take any time to explain how anybody got anywhere. Right. It was just like, and now they're over here. Like, when they went down into another room, right, it was like, Karn and Teferi go down here, and I may be mixing up who was where. Don't, you're welcome to at me if you really want to, but I'm just giving an example. Karn and Teferi go down here, now they get attacked. And then the other people seconds later show up, even though they're on different floors. Okay, right? And then the person screams upstairs, so we gotta run upstairs. But Jodah's exhausted, but seconds later shows up on Sten's arm upstairs, even though Karn and Jaya ran to get to Teferi. Sten and Jodah just show up right after him. It's like, so Jodah's exhaustion is irrelevant except when he needs to defend his own life.
Actually, the Phyrexian oil helps him, like, slide along in a very expeditious manner.
That's good. That's very good. Up the stairs, up the individual steps.
Yep. He just slides right up them.
He clips through like a glitchy video game character. Just launches himself right up the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be the end of this particular story. I'm like, what else? I genuinely want to know if you disagree, if you think it was a great mystery, if you think it was a great story, if you don't know. So I guess be aware of the comments down below, like be wary if people are posting spoilers there, because again, the entire story has been out. We know what's going to happen, but we're still going to try to keep it, if you're following along with us and not with the stories, then we're going to try to keep that aspect of it a secret. You know, we'll spoil the story that we're reviewing, but not up ahead yet. Once the time comes, though, we will talk about it, whether we are upset, happy, or somewhere in between.
Right.
You will know. You're welcome to take your guesses in the comments down below. But yeah, we that is going to be the end of this particular video. Truly, though, absolutely, truly, like Amy said, whether you agree, whether you disagree, or whether you're somewhere in between, if there's something that you loved that we forgot to mention about this story, or if there's something that you did not love that we forgot to mention about this story, all of those things in the comments down below, we would really, really love to hear from you.
Right.
And doing that, continuing to discuss a story that we may not have thought was good, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but to keep that conversation going is a really great way for all of you to join us as we show off our
Hashtag Vorthos Pride.
We've got more of these to go, obviously, because we've only done one side story so far. So we have 4 more side stories and 2 more main stories, because, you know, that's how it works, right? They fit together perfectly. There won't be 2 side stories in a row.
I'm happy with that, because the side stories are way better.
But we'll be back with more of that again. Barring anything crazy happening, we're going to try our best to have 2 jars a week until these are done, because Wizards really loves just shoving these stories down your throat. Yeah. Whether you have time to read them or not, doesn't matter. You're going to get spoiled for them, so suck it up, I guess. And that's me interpreting what they're saying, not actually saying it myself.
Because we would love it to not be that way.
A lot. A lot. And or give us more. But also, don't give us more, like, crammed all in. Like, I don't want 15 stories in 20 days. Like, spread it the F out. I don't understand. Anyway, yes, more of that in a better way. But that is going to be the end of this particular video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget, as I said earlier, subscribing and ringing that bell is a super great way to help us out. We really appreciate it. And you get notifications for whenever any of our videos come out, especially more of these jars to come. And if you're enjoying the things that we're doing, like I said, come join us on stream. Come talk to us. Amy is great about following along in chat and checking in with folks. You're more than welcome to just come in and let us know how your week has been, how you're doing, etc. Ask us the same, whatever you prefer. But, yeah.
As I said, I'd love to hear from you.
Exactly. And so, for now, from us here at the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.